Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
Good morning. It's the 21st of December 2017. Exactly 4 more days for Christmas. The MTV MBC studios here at Dawson Street are looking absolutely fantastic. We will be opening it to the public at 4 p.m. today. Now, bribery and corruption in Sri Lanka has become a massive menace, and there's a worldwide crackdown on it. Here to talk with us on the topic of bribery and corruption and the importance of combating it is the Director General of the CIABOC, the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, Sarath Jayamanne, President's Counsel. Good morning and welcome, sir.
Good morning, Sonali, for giving me this valuable opportunity.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. Now, you also have several decades of work at the Attorney General's Department. Finally, you worked as the Additional Solicitor General, and you were instrumental in some of the key landmark prosecutions as well. Tell us, how challenging has it been to take on work at the Bribery Commission, especially given the fact that Sri Lanka is a country plagued with bribery and corruption?
Yes. Unlike the Attorney General's Department, the CIABOC has many challenges. Number one is Attorney General's Department, over a century, it is a well-settled organization. But when it comes to CIABOC, the main challenge is for the last 23 years. World has moved in a very fast, rapid way, and every few years they always change their laws and the investigative methods. But for the Bribery Commission, which was set up in 1994, for the last 23 years, we have not brought any single amendment to the existing act. So that is a huge challenge. Not only that, in other countries, all the investigations are conducted by the experts. For example, engineers, accountants, auditors, financial analysts, bond expert. I'm compelled to say we don't have a single expert of that nature. So those are the real challenges, and other challenges I will explain to you in detail later. So that is the real challenge. So before involved in conducting investigation and prosecution and filing case, the main challenge is to change the system. So we have to have infrastructure, amend the existing laws, and recruit best experts. Mind you, all these so-called rogues, they have been backed by the legally skilled people, auditors, accountants world over. So we should be equally par, and we pay the government salary to our public servants. So we have to have a very strong, effective investigation mechanism. And we have to join hands with the world community. They have developed so fast. So those are the main challenges for the time being.
Right. Now, bribery and corruption have become so commonplace in Sri Lanka. But now, recently we saw the manner in which a former minister who was caught in an asset declaration case pleaded guilty, and he was fined 1,000 rupees. And that was the end of that. So, whereas on a contrary note, a poor man on the street for plucking 3 coconuts, he's sent to jail, he's behind bars. So this contradiction in the laws, that's something that people are very frustrated with. What have you got to say about this?
I think in a way there's a valid importance in your question. I think on the other hand, it is just a misunderstanding. What is the offense? The person was convicted. He was not convicted for having enormous amount of wealth. He was not convicted for any offense of corruption. He was not convicted for any offense of bribery. He was convicted only for the reason that he has failed to give an annual asset declaration form. And every public servant, staff grade, they are required to submit by the end of 31st of June the annual declaration of the previous year to the head of the department. And there are several lakhs of public servants, and some officers they don't hand over. It is merely not handing over the asset declaration form. But again, having a fine of 1,000 rupees in today's context, I agree with you, that is not sufficient.
So it is a laughable matter?
To a certain extent, then we'll have to find out why, whether the CIABOC is responsible. I would say this law, particularly this asset declaration form, with regard to asset declaration form, this law was introduced in 1975. So this law has never been changed up to now. So therefore, we have come to a critical stage in our evolution of our criminal justice history. We have to look back at these lapses and introduce new laws, and definitely that is being attended to at the moment.
Right. Now, another concern, Mr. Jayamanne, is the fact that it is only the junior public officials that are caught up in bribery and corruption cases. We hear about Grama Sevak officers, forest officers, technical officers, police officers being caught for accepting bribes of 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees, whereas the big fish are free.
Okay. The way you ask the question, there's a valid question. But unfortunately, we have not explained this background of these cases for the last 1 year. This is the first opportunity I am getting at Sirasa, so I will explain. Yes, for the last 1 year, we have conducted successful raids, 39 raids. And last 1 year, we have got a recorded number of convictions, around 50 convictions in court. If you look at these suspects, what you say is correct. They are not the top-rung public officers. Maybe there are a few consultant doctors, senior public officers, but generally, by and large, what you say is correct. What's the reason? In all these cases, there are weaknesses. Especially, all these offences are committed in the village, not mostly in Colombo. And these who are the victims, they are the poorer people. They are not rich people. And these poor people, when they want to get any public work done, they have to go before these public servants. Maybe a school principal, a police officer, AGA, technical officer. And without their support, they cannot run the public engagement in this country. And these villagers or middle class victims, when they are being victimized, they have the courage. And their value system is, I would say, very high. Why? They are prepared to complain to the Bribery Commission. And when they complain, we organize a raid, and in most of these cases, these offenders were caught red-handed.
While accepting.
While accepting. So then it is easy for us to prove the case in a court of law. Why? We have the evidence of the victim, supported by our decoy, who has witnessed giving evidence, and any court will, in most cases, will rely and believe the credibility of such witnesses. But on the other hand, with regard to big fish, who is the victim who will come and complain to us that I will support you and I will provide you evidence? Hardly any. This is a question of values. I am at a particular moment, I am thinking whether values of the rural folks are higher than the rich elite. Rich elite will never come and complain to us and assist us to arrest the big fish. On the other hand, they will want somehow or the other get their project, get their tender, anything approved by the big fish. And therefore, they don't come to us. So that is a question of values and culture in this country.
Right. So you spoke about raids conducted by the Bribery Commission. Now the Bribery Commission is centrally located in Colombo, and it handles cases pertaining to the entire country. And with the staffing issues, how practical is it to conduct raids across the island?
You know, when the Bribery Commission was set up in 1994, earlier the Bribery Commission department was there. Suddenly, soon after the election in 1994, as an election pledge, independent commission was established. Then they didn't have any other investigators. Very few officers were there. So we borrowed investigators from the police department, who were very good in conducting investigations into violent crimes, murder, rape, a few fraud cases. And earlier, few officers were recruited. Now we have recruited by this time 200 officers. 200 officers for the 22 million people. We have 200 vacancies. 200 vacancies. We have not recruited. Why? There are no suitable good officers. So now what will happen? 22 million, we have 200. But every 200 does not mean every officer is capable in conducting investigations into serious offences. For example, Malaysia, they have 30 million, roughly 25% above Sri Lanka population. What is the strength of their investigators in the commission, Anti-Bribery Commission? 1,500. So in that context, we must at least have 1,000. I don't go to that higher level, but at least we must have 400 to 500 officers. I, for the last couple of months, realized this and fought hard and had several rounds of discussion with the management service and categorically emphasized we need not merely the police officers, we need the experts. So finally, management service has approved and to recruit 200 experts. So once they approve, we have to get the permission of the Salaries and Cadre Commission, Public Service Commission, and that process has been going on the last several months. And I hope finally next year, within a couple of months, we'll be able to recruit. Mind you, we recruit these experts at the lower level. They are graduates passed out from the universities. On top of that, at least on contract basis, with the approval of the cabinet, I think we have to recruit top-rung experts who are willing to support us, meaning they are supporting the country, they are supporting the motherland. So we need top-rung experts who can train this. That will take some time, and without those experts only we have conducted the investigation up to this time.
Right. Also, Mr. Jayamanne, over the past few months, the Bribery Commission has come under criticism, especially with people asking, with all of this corruption and bribery going on in the country, why is the Bribery Commission remaining silent? Is it asleep? What is your response to these critics?
Again, I say it's a valid question. You know, when police are conducting investigation, especially FCID and CID, they are expected to report the progress of the investigation every 2 weeks to the magistrate, right? Then they will get orders, instructions from the magistrate to go to a bank or the digital forensic experts. So any other organization for the police to go and get the assistance, you must get the support of the magistrate. Without magisterial order, they can't do. But in our case, in 1994, what happened, the drafters of the law, they realized if you are going to divulge all these information with regard to the progress of investigation, investigation might be hampered. So therefore they thought, no, we must give that power to the CIABOC. So all the powers that magistrate is entertaining at this juncture has been given to me. I have to act on the guidance and the instruction and the direction given by the 3 commissioners. So therefore, no one in this country, they don't know what we are doing. For example, last month, few weeks back, we have filed an asset case against a former minister. Now, it took nearly 2 years. Have we reported, have we divulged every step before the general public of this country? They will appreciate that we are doing something. No, we will diverge only when we file the case in the High Court or Magistrate Court. Only exception is if a person is caught with bribery red-handed, within 24 hours, we go and produce the suspect before the magistrate. At that juncture, entire country will come to know. Other than that, no one in this country will come to know what we have been doing here. So that is because of the secret nature, in order to protect the investigation that has been given to us. Unfortunately, people are unaware. I know they are very emotional. I know they have a genuine reason to know. But in the existing provision, we can't divulge what we are doing. Till we filed the case, no one exactly knew for 2 years. For example, an asset case. When we receive a complaint, we discreetly gather information with regard to the assets of the suspect. Then we call records from the bank and other financial institutions. Then we get the asset declaration form of the suspect. Then we ask from the suspect what assets that you have. Then if we are not satisfied with the explanation, we give him a formal opportunity called show cause notice. He has to respond. In most cases they say, this property is in my name, but in fact, I am a trustee, I am just a trustee. The property belongs to someone else. So then we'll have to check from the someone else. Likewise, they will come out with various explanations, then we'll have to cross-check that. It takes some time. Generally, an asset case takes nearly 2 years. Why? It's a long, cumbersome procedure. For example, in this particular case, you will see 26 items of movable property in the indictment, 13 items of immovable property. Then the amount of the property is there, and what amount of his income is there, and the deficit is about 49 million. This takes a long time. That is why people don't know what we are doing.
All right. We're in conversation with Mr. Sarath Jayamanne, President's Counsel, Director General of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. We're going for a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching a Newsline. We're in conversation with the Director General of the CIABOC, the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, Mrs. Sarath Jayamanne, President's Counsel. Let's talk a bit about the importance of the prevention aspect of bribery and corruption. This is a country that's marred with so much controversy when it comes to bribery and corruption, especially, Mr. Jayamanne, we've seen a rise in cases of white-collar bribery and corruption. So it's of a highly technical nature. We have the central bank bond fiasco, which took the entire country by shock at the sheer extent of it. So in this backdrop, how do we go about preventing this?
If you look at countries like Hong Kong and Malaysia and Singapore, they came to Sri Lanka around the 1960s. And they observed how our bribery commission's department was functioning. They came for a study tour. They have gone back. Now where are they? They are standing in the anti-corruption ranking. Singapore in the world anti-corruption ranking is number 7. Hong Kong is number 15. Malaysia number 53. And even Bhutan number around 30. We are far down in number 95. Now you have to examine what they have done and what we have been doing. I have taken these countries why they were like Sri Lanka, they were under the British rule. If you look at their secret, they are not merely focusing on the arrest and the prosecution. If you look at their statistics, their energy is at least diverted, 40% of their energy is diverted for prevention.
How much of the Sri Lanka CIABOC's energy is diverted towards prevention?
Now almost 99% our energy is diverted to the enforcement and prosecution. Why? Our act does not provide any provisions for prevention.
So there aren't any programs being conducted?
Of course, on a voluntary basis, for the last 1 year, we have conducted 21 awareness programs. But I must admit, those are somewhat haphazard programs. On request, we go and do presentation. The quality of the presentations are very good, but we have to have an organized mechanism.
Sure.
So if you look at the other countries, their main principle is they don't wait till the offense is committed. They look at each and every government department and they identify the areas where there are opportunities for corruption, maybe procurement, maybe bond and large-scale corruption. So then they advise the relevant government officers to rectify their procedures. And they have to rectify. If they don't rectify, what will happen? The budgetary allocation for the next year will be definitely reduced. And there are officers called integrity officers are appointed by each and every government department. Then what will happen? There will be integrity officers of the commissions. There will be an interrelationship between the integrity officers of the commission and the relevant government departments. So they will look, they will monitor each and every procedure. There are high risk organizations even in this country. For example, if you want to get a permit, if you want to get a license, why public servants are involved in corruption? Because they have a one-to-one eye contact with the litigant or the person or the villager. So when you have a one-to-one eye contact, you allow certain opportunities for manipulation. But in other countries, everything is digitally settled, digitally organized system, and you can't go out of the queue. So therefore, everything is being monitored.
So how far behind are we? I mean, we seem to be lagging behind in every respect.
Definitely. Why? With all due respect, for the last 23 years, we have never thought of this thing. So therefore, first we have to have a law, prevention law. Along with the bribery law amendments with regard to the enforcement, I have recommended prevention law. Then even the existing asset law, I have made recommendation with the support of our commissioners. And President, he realized the importance of it. He has put before these suggestions before the cabinet, and 3 months back, cabinet has approved and sent it to the government analyst. Now she is drafting these laws. I hope very soon it will happen. In the meantime, I insisted we have to have a prevention unit.
Right.
So now the management services and government, other relevant authorities, in principle, they have agreed to recruit 50 officers. So the process is going on, and next year definitely we'll have a prevention unit. In order to prepare that, we have already invited one Dr. Anis Yusuf. He's the chairperson of the Integrity Institute of Malaysia. He came and had a long discussion with the senior public servants in this country. So therefore, what is the best opportunity is to educate or guide the public servants not to get involved, and if there are loose ends, we must rectify. Not only that, as a nation, we must, from the younger days, we must have this anti-corruption culture. For example, in June, I was in Austria, Vienna, attending the United Nations Corruption Conference. I met several representatives from Scandinavian countries and European countries. They don't have a bribery commission. They don't have any institute dealing with bribery or corruption. Then that puzzled me. Why Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Hong Kong, we have a commission, specially set up institute, but in these European countries, Scandinavian countries, they don't have. Then I asked this question from these gentlemen and ladies. They said, in our blood, in our DNA, in our organization, we have anti-corruption elements. We don't need to be taught. So we are there. That is how we have been brought up. So that is good. So therefore that gives a signal. We have to start from the children, youth. And in our case, how can we start with the children? They are being shown, they are being taught how the class teacher should be bribed. In our culture, we always appreciate gratitude. For New Year or Christmas, we give a present to our parents. Fine, that's all right. Giving a small present to a teacher is very innocuous. But what will happen when one student gives a bribe or one student gives a gift to the teacher, other students can't wait. Then other students will try to give another gift better than the previous students. So then the entire class will give the 30 or 50 gifts. Now the teacher is elated. So then what will happen? In the next year, teacher will identify most parents who have the potential in the organizing, who have the personality, as the representative of the parents, other parents. So then they are the ones who will organize the gift for the teacher. So the previous year, teacher took few gifts and went home, and this year, teacher goes home with a van load of gifts. Now, this culture is being viewed by the child.
So we need a mindset change.
That is the exact thing. It is the mindset. It is a multi-pronged approach. Yes, definitely we have to conduct investigations and prosecutions, but on the other hand, from the younger days, we have to have a mindset change. So therefore, we have to change the curriculum of the education. We have to need to have the support of the media, especially media and all civil society organization. That is why still we don't have a national anti-corruption action plan. Last month, Cabinet realized this, and President submitted a paper to the Cabinet, and Cabinet now has prepared, it has come to a situation, we must prepare a national action plan for anti-corruption. So therefore, that task was assigned to the Bribery Commission. So now what we'll do, we will get ideas, suggestions from all over the country. And we launched a website yesterday, revamped, and there are several opportunities for the general public to come out with their suggestions, their creativity. We have a social corner, the children and young persons. They can come out with various creative ideas to propagate this anti-corruption drive in this country. So, pardon me, I'm not going away with the culture of investigation and prosecution, but I'm telling you what other successful countries have done. Certainly we have to catch the big fish. We have to do. And when you say big fish, when did this incident happen? 10, 15 years back, 7, 10 years back.
Right.
Now, we need to have evidence, no?
Sure.
We need to have documents. And with the press of a button, or within a nanoseconds, these monies are sent to outside Sri Lanka. And for that we need experts.
So we're on our final 3 minutes of the show, Mr. Jayamanne. We have been getting feedback as well from our viewers. One viewer asks, does the Bribery Commission have issues with regard to political influence in their work? Can you give a short response to that?
I'm honestly asking the question. Our 3 commissioners, one is a former judge of the Supreme Court, other one is a former judge of the Court of Appeal, and the third person is an experienced investigator. I have to always act according to their directions.
Sure.
I don't have any other power to send out a case. In the country, indictment can only be sent out by the Attorney General. With regard to bribery, corruption, assets, only I have the power. I have to act according to theirs. And I worked in the Attorney General's Department. Have you come across any singular instance with regard to for us, any act of bias in our career? I'm asking that question. For definitely, we don't get any kind of pressure from anyone. I must frankly and honestly say that.
Right. My final question to you, Mr. Jayamanne, is there are massive weaknesses in the Bribery Act, which is far outdated. For example, it doesn't capture a private sector bribery and corruption. It doesn't capture foreign officials. So what are the measures that you're taking as the Director General of the Bribery Commission to attend to these?
After I come in here, for the last few months, I have examined all these things. Then there are so many areas. Private sector bribery is not an offense in this country. In all other countries, it's an offense. So we have requested, and we are going to change the law. But the moment we make private sector bribery an offense, our work would be double. So they have to have an infrastructure, we have to have an in-building, and even at this juncture, we are struggling with the present building. So then, foreign official bribery is not an offense. And UNCAC, United Nations, always asking why you are making this, why are you not making these offenses? Very soon we are going to make. And with regard to corruption, corruption offense is tried according to 1994 amendment. I don't know whether it is deliberate or otherwise. Offenses are tried in the most lowest court in the country, that is in the magistrate court. Those cases should be heard by the High Court, and we are going to amend that. And we don't have a power to conduct money laundering investigations, and we are going to get that opportunity also. And in all other countries, Attorney General's views or observations are sought during the course of the investigation. Why? Then only you get the best legal opinion in this country. But in our system, we can't go to the Attorney General seek opinion, and we are going to amend the law. So these several steps are being taken, and this is the year of transition. Have some patience. We'll see next year. For the future, we have a strong Bribery Commission.
Mrs. Sarath Jayamanne, President's Counsel, thank you so much for making clear to our viewers the role of the Bribery Commission and this transitional space. People are watching, and you need the participation of the people as well.
Definitely.
In your exercise. That draws to a close this edition of Newsline. In an era where bribery and corruption is on the rise, a concerted multi-stakeholder effort is needed to combat corruption. We wish you a corruption-free day ahead.